So today we're going to just share a couple business apps with you. I do a segment called Business Approved, and we're going to have a couple of the E4E partners come up and share a couple apps, and then I'm going to share one too. So we'll start with Tom Ruich, who apparently everybody in the room already knows.
Thank you, Will. So I'm going to work from over here on my computer. Let me pull up a web browser. Both in my capacity working on my own business as well as doing work on behalf of clients, I have gone through the gamut of project management applications, just applications to help keep track of stuff. And the one that we've fallen on, both for our own work as well as working with clients, is something called Trello, Trello.com. And Trello is free, and it's free. There's a premium level, but what we have found is that there is no need for us to invest in the premium level of Trello. You're looking at MarketVolt and my Trello board, and what I've done is created a demo board for the purpose of showing you how Trello works and how simple it is. You see here just a whole range of boards for my personal business, for business operations, business planning, our marketing, down below, client projects. So every project or segment of our business that we wish to manage, we do by creating a board in Trello. Creating a board is as simple as clicking Create a Board, Test Board. The board is created, and there's a blank bulletin board. But I'm going to go in and create the one called E4E Demo Board. Yesterday, I sat down with a couple of folks from my team because we're planning to attend some trade shows later in the summer and in the fall. And the process of attending a trade show involves a whole series of steps and a whole series of different people being involved. We simply mapped all of those steps as a list, and this actually is not the real set of activities, but pretty close. So we have to attend this thing, complete a vendor registration form, pay for the sponsorship, design our booth, design print materials, and so forth. I'm going to take that list, just do a copy on it. Oops. And I'm going to go back now to Trello. And on this board that I call Demo Board, I'm going to create a list. And that list is going to be called To Do. So we have a board that represents a project. We have a list within the board, my to-do list. And what I'm going to do is add tasks, cards within a list. And I'm going to do it by pasting that list from Microsoft Word. And notice that when I say add this card, it says, it looks like you have a list here. Do you want these all to be separate cards? And I do want them to be separate cards. So now, with one cut and paste, I've taken a simple list and turned it into a series of cards. Now what I'm going to do is start to add members to my list. So my employee whom I forced to attend this event, Paul. Actually, I'd have to go through a step to add Paul to this project, so I'm going to skip that. But what I could do, if Paul is responsible, or if Tom Ruich is the only member of this board is responsible, I could say that he's the member to whom I'm going to assign this task. I'm going to set a due date of whatever the date may be, and I'm going to add a comment, hey, Tom, go to this website, whatever instructions I may have. You could create a checklist within the card. And then the way that we run projects is almost always we'll do the same structure. We'll do to do, we'll do in progress, and then we'll do another list called completed. And this is definitely how we do it when we're sharing Trello with clients. When we do a client project, we say, go to Trello.com, we send them an invite, they're in, and it couldn't be easier for them to learn. We put all of the to-do tasks for that project, what we're going to do for them, on the list. It's transparent. They see what we are doing. If we have tasks internally, we put it on the list. They see it. And when Tom completes or begins to work on this, he moves it over here. When booth design begins, it moves over here. And so what you begin to have is a very clean and visual look at the status of the project. As things move from the to-do list to the in progress to completed, anybody can come in and see what's going on. If a deadline is approaching, it turns yellow. If a deadline passes, it turns red. You can do alarms and triggers. You can integrate this with other applications using tools like if this, then that. You can send email alarms to yourself. It is just the simplest yet most flexible and powerful of project management tools. And what's really interesting about it, not only do we use it now in our business and in our client relationships, but when I showed this to my wife, we now use it for our grocery list. We now use it to plan moving our kids to college. And so I have shared family boards for planning our vacations, anything and everything. Very, very simple. Yes, Les? If we look at this card, I set a date, due date, and if it approaches a certain due date, I think it gets yellow as it's approaching, red if it's passed. So you see color coding on there. The other thing that you can do is, you have multiple boards, and how do you keep track of it? Well, I can come here and see all of my cards, all of my cards across all projects. Here's what's due the next day, see the yellow. And I can also do that with my employees. So I could come here and go to my Paul Cook list and see what cards he's responsible for. Trello has become a verb at our company. I'll talk, I'll send an email and say, we've been asked to do this, or I'd like you to do this. Please Trello that and set a due date of whatever. And so nothing slips through the cracks if you use the system. Okay? Yeah, Dale.
Tom, can any of those have been authorized and edit the cards or?
You have different permission levels, so administrator and so forth, and
If you have a client project, you could actually have their to-do items out there and they could alter them.
yeah, in fact, that's when we do a client project, what we actually do is the scope of work to do. Here's the list of all of the stuff that we've told you in the proposal that we'll do. And then we'll do client add-on requests. So if the client has a request, we'd like you to do this, and it wasn't in the scope of work, they create a card. And we get an email notice, and that's the way that we keep track of all the activity in the project.
We're going to do a Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
We can hold our questions. That way we can make sure we get everybody through. Thank you. Next up is Lisa Oxenhandler, and she's going to tell us about something called time trade. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? I didn't even think, will you be the little PowerPoint person?
Oh, sure. I'll stand over here and do it.
Yeah.
Right here?
It's on.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You want to use the mouse?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, just the left button on the mouse will get you going.
Okay, you all are my guinea pigs. They're out in the hall. Run. I'm Lisa Oxenhandler, as you all now know. One of my favorite tools is time trade. I do a lot of interviewing for various reasons, either as a recruiter or for our different clients. And so an easy way, rather than send emails back and forth, how about this date, how about that date, I use time trade and send them a link to my calendar. And actually, it's real easy. And there are different levels. You can get it for free. There's a very low yearly, and depending upon the number of users as to the cost. But now we're going to get started. And you can see that I have different times set for each of the interviews, or like one of my clients in St. James, I do different types of interviewing for them. They can go to the calendar if it's an internal candidate that they want me to interview for promotion or to see if they want to roll them over to their payroll. If it's a virtual coffee or tea versus, actually running to meet somebody, I can set up a Zoom conference with them. It's a 60 minutes phone. That's usually if I'm going to be interviewing them for the very first time, find out their dream job, all those kinds of things. Then it also sends an email confirming the time. And there are different times available if somebody goes to a different date. Like you can see on the 26th, there are 2 times available. On the 24th, there are 3 times available. And on the 23rd, there are 4 times available. So you set that up. That merges with my Gmail calendar. The one thing that it doesn't do, which much to my chagrin, was that it only merges with one calendar versus several calendars. So since I do interview for various things, I can just have it come to that one calendar. Then I tell it what information that I want from them, a phone number, email. And generally speaking, particularly for a first-time interview, I want them to call me, so I make it pretty clear, call me at either of the numbers. And then there it says, you're scheduled. And that's that. Oh, there are the prices. That's it. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. You want this?
Yeah, see if the wheel on the mouse can do it. Here, I'll run it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The app that I like to talk about and use quite often is called Slack. This is slack.com, and what it is, it's an online collaboration tool. So somewhat similar to Trello, and if I hit the wrong button, that doesn't help.
I gotcha.
Look at there. So this is kind of the dashboard when you sign up for Slack. You can use the website slack.com, or you can download the app and actually use it on your computer. You can use it on your phone. But what it lets you do over on the left there, similar to Trello, is I can put all the different projects that I'm working on. And then what we can do is I can assign different people to each of those channels depending on what I'm having done. So for one project, I may have my graphics designer in there. I may have a developer in there. For a different project, I may just have something else in there. So it breaks everything up into projects, and then people can it's almost like a chat. People can say, hey, I'm working on this now, or I have a question about this graphic or whatever. You can also upload files. So all of the files can be uploaded into this system, and then everybody is notified that a new file has been uploaded. It works across multiple devices, which is terrific. So if I'm out at an E4E meeting and my graphics designer has a question, they can just type it into their little thing there, and it'll give me a little notification that somebody has said something to me at some point. It also integrates with Trello, which I think is one of the coolest things, is that if a new file is uploaded, for instance, it can actually move that file into the Trello board or card, depending on how it's set up. And this is done through a service called Zapier, which we've talked about in the past. That's zapier.com. And so there are ways to make these different apps work together. Here are the prices, free, standard, plus, and enterprise. I use the free version. And as Tom said with Trello, I haven't seen a need to pay for it yet. So I'm not sure how they're making money, but whatever. So thank you all for listening to the app section. If you do want more, I did actually put a cheat sheet on everybody's chair. And if you did not get one, just let me know, and I will be happy to get you one of those. That way you guys can take this home. And I did put Zapier on there at the bottom too.
When you're using Trello, is there a way to just keep the customer blocks visible only to the customer so they can't see anything else? And the other question is, if Trello and Slack are like each other, why would Trello need to integrate with Slack? Like, what's the difference?
So in terms of showing some but not all to a customer. If they have access to the board and they have editing permission, they're going to see all. So that's a question that we dealt with. So if I have a task that I need Paul to look at, hey, I spotted a bug, go fix it. We went through this thought process. Do we put that on a board that our clients can see, or do we not? And we erred on the side of being completely transparent. Everything we're dealing with, they see, and so they either have access to the board or not. Did that answer? Oh, they can't see other boards. So they only have access to whatever board we give them access to. In terms of Trello versus Slack, Slack is not so much a project management sort of steps. Slack is almost just like a big communication log, if you will. So within each project, you're logging all of the communication. It's a great replacement for email internally. What we found is that you have a project and you're constantly going and looking for emails related to that thing. But if you get your team to commit to using Slack, so when I have something to say or something to add related to this topic, I post it to Slack. Now you have the whole thing there, searchable, easy to find. You're not constantly tracking back. The key thing with both tools I've found is that you have to have commitment from the people who are using it, or else all of a sudden you have multiple tools and stuff gets lost.
Yeah, I've used Slack with one of my graphics designers when I was creating a logo for my podcast. So she would upload something to Slack. Hey, how's this look? Oh, can you move this over here? So there was a very fast communication back and forth that way. So let's get another question. Steve? I'm picking them as far away as I can.
That's great. I need the exercise.
Next
Tom,
one's
for
up here.
Trello, does it have anything, like Basecamp has a write board? Does Trello have that, or does Slack have that? And then I've got a follow-up question.
Not exactly. No, there's no sort of board in the same way that you have in Basecamp.
And then two more questions. Is there any kind of HTML capability in terms of creating links and that type of thing? And then finally, what is the mobile experience compared to the desktop experience?
So the mobile experience in Trello is great. We're out of time pretty much. In terms of links, you can add links super easily to a card. You can add documents super easily to a card. You can drag a document to a card. It shows up as an attachment physically uploaded to the Trello server, or you can link to a Google Doc or link to docs elsewhere. And same thing with URLs. You can add URLs, and it sort of ends up like a little, the way a Facebook URL would. It sort of gives you a little thumbnail of the page to which you're linking. Yeah.
On the bottom of the cheat sheet there is a little area where you can fill it out if you want more information. If anybody has any other questions, just write them on the bottom of there and get it to me, and I'll get it to Tom or Lisa and make sure that all your questions get answered. Okay? Thank you.